MKBHD, he has a YouTube channel called Autofocus. You've probably heard of it. And he just did a video where he's saying these are the best cars to get instead of a Tesla. Instead of either a Tesla Model 3 or a Tesla Model Y or a Tesla Model S or a Tesla Model X or a Cybertruck. So he's giving you alternatives to all those cars. And I'm going to give you them straight up because you don't have to watch his 20-minute video. And then I'm going to tell you my opinion on what I think could be some better options. This is a very American-centric video. So I'm going to reveal what I think are the best cars, not just for America, but also globally as well. YouTube's new algorithm means that you're often not getting all of our videos in your feed. There's 7,500. I'm pretty sure you're probably not seeing a lot of them. In the description, there is a link to our newsletter. Click on that and you can get an update every day of all the latest news in the electric car industry. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. And if I'm totally honest with you, I watched his whole video. I feel a little bit brain dead. I feel a little bit like I've been listening to someone who, likes cars, but isn't really all that interested in them. It's just sort of a side project for him. And I think for me, if I watch a YouTube video, I want to watch a video from someone who I know is a genuine, really, really passionate about cars. He's not that kind of guy. Yeah. It's just not his thing. Technology, he likes it. He does videos. YouTube is, it's his thing. But cars, I don't think are. Anyway, here are his alternatives. Basically, he's saying, instead of getting a Tesla Model 3, you should consider a Hyundai Ioniq 6. That's his number one pick. Number two pick is a Polestar 2, and number three pick is a Volvo EX30. He mentions prices for all of these cars in this entire list I'm going to give you. He mentions the used car prices, which are pretty wild because honestly, if you live in the United States, what are you going to do? Drive from California to New York to pick up a car? The used car prices he lists are basically the lowest prices you can get in America. So they're not really relevant. But anyway, a lot of these cars in this list you can get, depending on where you live, some pretty good used car prices. Do I agree with him? Is the Hyundai Ioniq 6 a good alternative to a Tesla Model 3? Not a bad car. I mean, if you bought one, I wouldn't say, hey, it's a terrible car. Would I get one? Probably not. I just don't think it looks good. I think it just looks a bit weird. And that's why they're not selling worldwide. It's, in fact, Hyundai's worst selling car in the last, I think, 10 years worldwide. Now, the Polestar 2, pretty good car. And the Volvo EX30, also a pretty good car as well. Now, the Volvo EX30, it's an SUV. Obviously, the Tesla Model 3 is not an SUV. I don't think that's a very good comparison. The X30 is actually quite a small car. It's only 4.2 meters long. It's not particularly efficient, doesn't get anywhere near the range of a Tesla. I just don't think it's a good alternative to a Tesla Model 3. Realistically, it's in a different category. But yeah, I'd say a Polestar 2 and a Hyundai Ioniq 6, they're pretty good cars. And you couldn't really say if you bought one of those, they're bad cars. Now, if you were going to buy a car outside of the US, there's certainly some other options you could have a good look at. His alternatives to the Tesla Model Y are the BMW iX, the Cadillac Lyriq, and the Genesis GV60. Now, all three of those cars are significantly more expensive than a Model Y. Now, he mentions used car prices, but you can't really mention and say, well, we're going to compare a new Model Y versus a used version of all these cars. You've got to really compare apples with apples. So a used Model Y is going to be cheaper than a BMW iX or a Cadillac Lyriq or a Genesis GV60. Of those three cars, I think the Cadillac Lyriq is the best choice, without doubt. It's significantly better than a BMW iX and a Genesis GV60, but it's a bit of a weird comparison because the Genesis GV60 is only 4.5 meters long. It's got literally half the boot space of a Cadillac Lyriq or a Tesla Model Y. And the Cadillac Lyriq is literally two sizes bigger than a Genesis GV60. GV60 is kind of like the size of a Volkswagen Golf. It's not a very big car. If you see them in person, they're really quite small. So I wouldn't personally say that's a real alternative to a Tesla Model Y, especially not for a family. The Cadillac Lyriq, though, absolutely. I think that's a really good choice, and I'd agree with him there. If you're looking outside of the US, though, you've got more choices. Well, first of all, even in the US, I'd probably stick in, instead of the Genesis GV60 and instead of the BMW iX, which is much more expensive than a Tesla Model Y, I'd be looking at a Hyundai Ioniq 5. I think that's a good alternative. Or I'd be looking at a Chevrolet Equinox. Chevy Equinox is also a good alternative. It's similar size. It's in the same sort of price bracket as a Tesla Model Y. Yeah, I mean, outside of the US, then you've got cars like the Zeekr 7X or the Xpeng G6, which I think are both really good alternatives. His Model S alternatives were the Lucid Air, the Porsche Taycan, and the BMW i5. The BMW i5, its specs are, it's okay. It's an okay car. Doesn't really appeal to me. I personally wouldn't be looking at it. A Porsche Taycan, I've got a friend in Los Angeles who owns one. I really enjoyed it. I didn't actually get to drive it very long, only for a couple of kilometers, but I thought it was a really nice car. Legit alternative to a Tesla Model S, only though if you're buying them used. Brand new, it's not an alternative. They're quite expensive, but used, yeah, absolutely. Lucid Air, he said the Lucid Air was the best alternative to a Tesla Model S. And, I'd say that's probably accurate. But if you're looking at the used car market, you could also consider potentially a Mercedes EQE. That's another option. Or, to be honest, instead of a Tesla Model S, I'd probably get a Tesla Model 3 in the US anyway. Now, outside of the US, yeah, you've got some other choices. But let's be honest, guys, that electric luxury sedan market, it's very, very small. It's a tiny niche market. So let's move on. The Tesla Model X. Now, this is a segment that's getting really interesting. NKBD, he says that a much better car than the Tesla Model X is the Lucid Gravity. And you know what? I think he's right. Lucid Gravity has better charging speed, has more range. It's nicer on the inside. Would I buy a Lucid Gravity new? No, probably not. I just think depreciation would be huge. But I do agree with him. It's a better option than a Tesla Model X. Unless you want full self-driving, and that's a different story. Now, he also says the Rivian R1S is a good option to a Tesla Model X. I'd agree with that. And the Volvo EX90. He mentions the Volvo EX90 is a phenomenal car, but he fails to mention the fact that the X90 has had massive problems and they're replacing all of the computer chips in those cars. There's been huge software problems. At this point in time, I would not be recommending a Volvo EX90 based on customer experiences in the United States. Now, outside of the US, what other options do you have to a Tesla Model X? Well, you've got, of course, even in the US, the Kia EV9, which is quite a nice car. You've got the Hyundai Ioniq 9, also nice. In fact, I think the Hyundai Ioniq 9 and the Kia EV9 are better options than the Volvo EX90 at this point in time. But another car that he didn't mention, and he maybe should, is the new Tesla Model Y L. So I think that's a legit rival for the Tesla Model X. It'll be cheaper. It is coming to the US. It's a 6-seat version of the Tesla Model Y. And I think it'll be really good value 6-seater. All these other models are quite expensive, out of the price range of a lot of people. Cybertruck. So MKBD, he says he had a Cybertruck and he sold it. And he decided to keep his other car, which was a Rivian R1T. He says the Rivian R1T is number one. It's the best option alternative to a Cybertruck. But he does mention it's got a short tray. It's got a 4-foot tray. It's a much smaller car than the Cybertruck. And to be honest, the reviews that I've read of the Rivian R1T, they're not particularly flattering. The suspension isn't great. Handling isn't great. To be honest, some Australian journalists have gone to the US and tested them, and they think that they're unfortunately nowhere near as good as they'd hoped or expected. So a better option to the Rivian R1T, in my opinion, a much better choice. Unfortunately, I wish I could say the Rivian was the best car, but it's not, is the Silverado, right? The Silverado EV pickup truck is the best car in this segment, period. Yeah. It has great charging speeds, similar to the Cybertruck. It has more range. You can get up to 450 miles of range. In fact, it'll do more in the real world than that, which is incredible. It has a 6-foot bed. It's got a mid-gate. I think the Silverado EV pickup truck is the best pickup truck, electric or otherwise, you can buy probably in the world right now. It's way better than a BYD Shark. It's also much more expensive, but I think it's the best. He also mentions the Ford F-150 Lightning, and I think the Ford F-150 Lightning is pretty good as well. So those are some good alternatives. Outside of the US, there's very few options when it comes to electric pickup trucks. Very few. There's no point me even going into that and talking about the alternatives in that segment. But guys, here's a dark horse for that segment. And if we're talking about used cars, there's some incredibly good deals, and that's true. Someone said to me, I bought a Mercedes EQS SUV, had around 13,000 miles. They actually sent me an email, and then I saw this message as well posted up on YouTube. They bought it for $37,500 with 13,000 miles. And they say they're getting 420 miles of range. That's around town, highway range, probably 320 miles. Anyhow, it's sold new for 114,000 US dollars. So this is the top of the range Mercedes-Benz EQS. The same applies in Australia. I've got a family member, in fact, who just bought a Mercedes-Benz EQS for $135,000. That's Australian dollars, so that's about 85,000 US dollars. That's brand new. Brand new. Yeah. And I've got to say, it's quite a nice car. Would I personally buy one? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't buy a three-row SUV unless it was affordable. Really affordable. I'd prefer an electric MPV, like something like the new Xpeng X9. There's some new electric 7-seat cars coming from China, and those are probably the models. I'd probably just wait a little longer and buy one of those, as I think they are better options than really any electric vehicle we're seeing at this point in the market from BMW, Audi, or Mercedes. Now, one thing I've got to take issue with what he said in his video, he said almost all of these cars don't have as good as self-driving features as Tesla does. In other words, he's saying some of them do. Some of them have as good self-driving features as Tesla. He doesn't say which ones, though. Guys, that is not true. And I know a lot of journalists and media organizations over the last few years have tried to make these claims. They said Mercedes-Benz had way better self-driving features than Tesla. That was proven to be completely false. I mean, there was a video posted where a Mercedes-Benz that was driving on Autopilot, it had to follow a Tesla because it has to follow another car. Otherwise, its self-driving features don't work. Literally, that's a rule. And it had 41 interventions over, I believe it's a 20-kilometer stretch of road, 41 interventions on what journalists and the media said was much better for self-driving than Tesla had. The Tesla had 0 interventions over that period of time. And by the way, it wasn't a technical road. It was just a straight piece of road. So when it comes to full self-driving, Tesla beats all of these cars by a mile. It's not even close. Of course, I'm assuming you're referencing paying for full self-driving, which is not standard software. You got to pay extra to get it. But that's not necessarily what everyone wants. A lot of people are going to buy a used car. Full self-driving is not needed for them. And there's certainly, when it comes to that segment of the market, better value cars. I personally think the Zeekr 7X and the Xpeng G6 in many countries around the world are better value than a Tesla Model Y, particularly if you don't care about full self-driving. In the US, you guys can't get those cars because they are Chinese. That said, Volvo is owned by a Chinese car company, just so you know. Donald Trump, I'm guessing he doesn't know that. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. The Sydney EV International Motor Show. If you want to get a 50% discount on your tickets, all you got to do, click the link in the description and use the promotion code that's in the description. Just copy and paste that. Now, I should mention there's only 200 tickets available per day. So if you go to use the promo code and you can't get a ticket, wait till the next day. Don't wait until the day before the show to get your tickets, because otherwise you'll probably miss out on getting the 50% discount.